Okay, so in today's class, I'll be looking at number 4 question of the Olympiad past question. Okay, so we have 4a as what? Evaluate the integral from 0 to 3 of what? X squared plus 2x all over what? The square root of what? 1 plus what? X dx. Now, how do I evaluate this question? Now, in integration, there are ways you can manipulate your question so that you should be able to solve the question. What do I mean? In this case now, the best thing I can do here is to manipulate this to be of the form what? To be of the form x squared, x plus 1, all squared minus 1. How do I mean? If I expand this, what will I have? I'm going to have what? X squared plus what? 2x plus 1, isn't it? So, but I need only these two. What will I then do to make it complete? By subtracting what? 1. So it means this is equals to this minus 1. All over what? The square root of what? 1 plus what? X dx. Now, in this case, can I see something like this? It looks complicated. So what I'll just do is what? I would split it by saying what? X plus 1 all squared over the square root of 1 plus x minus what? 1 over what? The square root of what? 1 plus what? X the what? Dx. Now, in which case, let's now what? Let's now separate the integral. So that becomes integral what? 0 to 3 of what? X plus 1 all squared over the square root of what? 1 plus x dx minus integral 0 to 3 of what? 1 over what? The square root of what? 1 plus x what? Dx. Now, from here, you can see I have x plus 1, I have 1 plus x down here. So what should I do here? The best thing to do here is to bring it up. So I have x plus 1 all squared, and I have what? X plus 1 or 1 plus x raised by what? Minus 1 over what? Over 2. This becomes 1 over 2 down here. Coming up by law of indices becomes what? Minus 1 over 2. Minus integral 0 to 3 of what? 1 plus x or x plus 1 raised by what? Minus 1 over what? Over 2 dx. So this is what I have. Now from here, let's now factorize. Now law of indices, this is like a raised power 2 times a raised power minus 1 over 2 becomes 0 to 3 x plus 1 raised power what? 2 minus 1 over what? Minus 1 over what? 2. And this is still the same thing as this. 1 plus what? X raised power minus 1 over what? Over 2 dx. Now from here, what do I now have? This now becomes integral of what? 0 to 3 of what? 2 minus 1 over 2 becomes 3 over 2. X plus 1 raised power what? 3 over 2 dx minus integral 0 to 3 1 plus x raised power what? Minus 1 over 2 what? Dx. From here, let's now integrate. Integrating, this becomes 0 to 3 of what? Of x plus 1 raised power 3 over 2 plus 1 becomes 3 plus 2 over 2, that's 5 over 2. All over 5 over 2, so that's like 2 over 5. Then minus, in this case also, is the same thing as saying 1 minus 1 over 2 plus 1 becomes minus 1 plus 2 over 2. So that's 1 over 2 over 1 over 2. So that's times what? 2 over 1. Okay, so then from here, I can now put the values of what? X as 3 and what? And 0. If x is 3, what happens? This becomes what? 2 into what? 4 into what? 5 over 2 all over what? 5 minus 2 into what? 4 raised by what? 1 over what? 2. Then minus that of 0 becomes what? This is 0 plus 1, that's 1. So that's 2 into 1 raised by what? 5 over 2 over 5 minus 2 into 1 raised by what? 1 over 2, like over 1, like so. Okay, so from here, what do I then do? This becomes 2 into 2 raised power what? 2 raised power 5 over 2. I'm trying to perform law of indices here. Then minus 2 into 2 raised power what? 2 or raised power what? 1 over what? 2. Now minus 2 into what? 1 raised power anything is what? Is 1. 2 into 1 raised power anything is also 1. Then from here this becomes 2 times 2 raised power what? 5. Why? Because a formula of indices here, this cancels this out. This cancels this out also. So what do I then have? This now becomes what? 2 into 2 raised power 5 over 5. Over 5. Then minus 2 into what? 2 raised power 1. So I have minus 2 into 2 raised power 1. Then all minus that of 0. I have what? 2 over 5 minus what? 2. So I have 2 over 5 minus 2. Remember to make it your bracket. So from here, 2 raised power 5 is 32. 32 times 2, that's 64. Over 5 minus 4. Minus what? This becomes, okay, let's leave like this also, to be of this form. From here, this becomes what? 64 minus what? 20 over 5. Then minus what? 2 minus 10 over what? Over 5. So this now becomes what? 44 over 5 minus what? Minus 8 over 5. Okay, so expanded, this now becomes 44 plus what? 8 all over what? 5, which gives me 52 over 5, and that is my answer. Or you can convert it to mixed fraction from here. Now, that is the answer to number 4's question. 4b's question says, two students, Jimpenji and Biola, solved an equation of the form this. Jimpenji starts with a wrong value of p and obtained the roots as this. Biola starts with a wrong value of q and obtain the roots as what? This. What are the correct values of the roots? Now to solve this question is to say, since p started with a wrong value, or Jimpenji started with a wrong value p, I can say for Jimpenji the roots are what? 2 comma what? 2 comma 6. So the roots are 2 comma what? 6. That is when x is equal to 2 and x is equal to what? 6. If x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 6, let's put these guys into this general form, which is x squared plus p, x plus q. So putting it in this guy equals to 0 becomes what? When x is equal to 2, what happens? This becomes what? 4 plus 2p plus q equals to 0. So it means 2p plus q equals to what? Minus 4. Now, when x is equal to 6 now, what now happens? This now becomes what? 36 plus what? 6p plus q equals to 0. That becomes what? 6p plus q equals to minus 36. So bringing equation 1 down, that becomes 2p plus q equals to minus what? Minus 4. This is equation 2, equation 1. Now from here, eliminating q, this becomes what? 4p is equals to minus 36 minus minus 4. That's minus 36 plus 4, which is minus 32. My p is equals to what? Minus 8. Now, remember the question. It says what? Jimpenji started with a wrong value of what? Of p. And I got my p to be what? A negative value. So it means my q should be what? Positive, relatively. So let's try and let's see if the answer is going to be positive. If p is minus 8, it means that putting p in equation what? 1 makes my put p in what? 1 to have what? If p is minus 8, equation now becomes what? 2 into minus 8, that's what? Minus 16 plus q equals what? Minus 4. Minus 16 plus q equals minus 4. Q equals to what? Minus 4 plus what? 16. My q then is equals to what? Plus 12. As simple as that. So that's for Jimpenji's answer. Now, it now said Biola started with a wrong value of what? Of q and obtained the root as what? 2 and what? Minus 9. So also, Biola root, we have 2 and what? Minus 9. Putting it in the same equation of Jimpenji and Biola, which is x squared plus ps plus q, becomes what? X squared plus px plus q equals 0. When x is equal to 2, what happens? This is what? 4 plus what? 2p plus q equals 0. 2p plus q equals what? Minus 4. That's equation what? Equation 1. And when x is equal to what? Minus 9, this becomes what? 81 minus what? Minus 9p plus q equals what? Equals to 0. So this now becomes what? Minus 9p plus q equals what? Minus 81. Multiplying also by minus, it becomes 9p minus q equals to what? 81. This is equation what? Equation 2. And from here, bring down equation 1, which is what? 2p plus q equals minus 4. Eliminating q still, this becomes what? We're going to add here. So that's 11p is equals to 81 plus minus 4 becomes 81 minus 4, which is what? 77. So my p is equals to what? 7. If my p is positive, remember they said you obtained the wrong value for what? For q. So it means my q should be negative in this case. So substituting p, which is 7, in the simplest equation, which is equation 1, I have what? 2 times 7 plus q equals minus 4. 14 plus q equals minus 4. Q equals minus 4 minus 14. So q is equals to what? Minus 18. Now, since we've gotten the wrong value of Jimpenji to be what? To be minus 8, and that of Biola to be what? Minus 18. It means the real root, or the correct root of the equation px squared plus px plus q equals 0 are what? They are q is equals to what? 12. And what? P is equals to what? P is equals to 7. So that is the positive values of the solutions.